Welcome into another season of the Red Out Podcast. My name is Devin. You may hear my wife in the background complaining about the diaper issue we're having. But let's get started. Let's hear a word from our sponsor.
I am not ashamed to admit in the past, I've needed a therapist. We all need someone, and it's a strong person who can admit it. I talked to my doctor, who referred me to a therapist, and I really didn't have much say as to who the therapist was. But with this episode's sponsor, Betterhelp, you do. You can filter out who you would like to talk to, age, gender, religion, and more to pair you with the person who works best for you. And if the person isn't exactly who you were wanting, you're not stuck. You can switch counselors. BetterHelp strives to offer affordable, professional, and accessible online therapy. So go to betterhelp.com/redout today to save 10%. By doing this, you not only support us, you can work toward a brighter, healthier you. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
Yes, thank you, BetterHelp. We appreciate your support. Hopefully, continued support. I haven't talked to him this year, so we'll see how that goes.
Just assume the link works.
Yeah, we'll just assume. I'll send her an email later and be like, "Hey, is the episode good?" And if she's like, "Huh? Who are you?" Then I know I'm in trouble. So no intro
Maybe
tonight.
Safeguard
Let's
will
get
step
the
in
intro
and
for right now.
sponsor Bud.
Do what?
I said maybe Safeguard will step in and sponsor Bud.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be nice. I'll take State Guard.
State Guard. Excuse me. Safeguard, sir.
Safeguard. I'm sorry.
Matt's like, I'll give you $1 now for that. There's your sponsor.
Yeah. No, my price, whatever you're going to charge, went down about 20%. Keep it up.
I figured my price would go up because I got the name wrong. So that's what I figured.
You're paying me? Okay. I mean, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I would probably have to pay you to be a sponsor now. So
sounds deal.
But anyway, I hope you all have had a nice summer. I know Matt's been doing a lot of articles with the Towel Rack, and Jared's been working with them a lot too. So you can catch their stuff there. So Jared, what have we missed? For those of us just waking up from our rock and not checking any WKU news.
Man, first of all, that's pretty disappointing if you're not, because you want to stay informed. Obviously, you can follow the Towel Rack, and that's what we're here for. We will keep you informed throughout the whole season. Yeah, I mean, it's hard looking at when we signed off in like late March, early April, and looking at things now. I mean, there's definitely a lot. Obviously, the biggest thing in the forefront right now is football. Of course, Saturday, playing Austin Peay at home, 11 in the morning. Very first college football game of the 2022 season is WKU versus Austin Peay. I think that's pretty cool that it's basically kicking off the football season. But yeah, I mean, there's been a pretty good quarterback battle, which we'll talk about. We have a bunch of new pro tops in the NFL. Bailey Zappi, he got drafted. D'Angelo Malone did as well. Jared Stearns is trying to earn a roster spot. So we got a lot of new guys that are going to be trying to stay on a roster, hopefully make the cut. Of course, basketball. I mean, there's still additions happening with that as of yesterday, which is insane. Getting Emmanuel Akot from Boise State, going to be transferring. Of course, Dante Allen and Christian Lander from Allen was from UK and Lander's from Indiana. So some Power 5 guys. I think this is going to be a really talented roster for Stansbury. I really don't want to see him blow it. I really don't. But
would you say my
expectations are so low?
Would you say this is the one of the best talented rosters he's had?
Oh, easily.
No question.
Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry, I'm making notes because I'm trying a new format on YouTube. Trying to have some actual like visual things for our YouTube listeners and watchers, and so they can actually kind of keep up and follow along with what we're talking about. Cool. So I know we'll get into the quarterback discussion a little bit later, but my question is, I heard this through Louisville media that Austin Reed basically, I won't say he won the spot, but basically Doge got pissed because somebody put on Instagram, yes, that somebody got pissed that he that they liked how Austin Reed was playing and all this. Is true or false?
I don't know.
I haven't heard
that.
that through any Bowling Green media, but I heard it from Louisville, and I was like, essentially, like one of the players posted how great Reed was doing and how they loved, him at quarterback and playing QB1. And apparently Doge was like, well, if you don't like me, then I'm going somewhere else. I guess I'll go to Troy. Basically.
So
Imagine
that's an
going to
interesting
Troy.
thought process there. I
don't
want
know
to
about
land at Troy.
That's where he landed. So it was like,
conveniently plays us October 1st. That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be a very interesting thing. I wonder how much the student section is going to handle that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
They'll probably be absent by then, but
probably.
If it's the first half, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
So I'm trying to get some recap here. Matt, how are you feeling going into football season?
Good, man. Are we getting straight into football, or there was a bunch of other stuff that happened in the summer. I didn't know if you wanted.
You go right ahead and talk about whatever you'd like, buddy.
Okay, buddy. I'll be quick because you said there's a lot to go over tonight.
No, you go right ahead.
I was thinking about. I wrote down a list because it was like one of the craziest summers ever. As a Western fan, like just all kinds of stuff going on. There was Paul Sanderford finally being put in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Volleyball's got a new court. Have you seen that? That thing looks pretty cool.
Looks awesome.
I'm excited to possibly see it sometime this year. They approved because of the conference mates leaving and paying money. They approved a softball and soccer complex so they can actually have locker rooms. And they approved indoor practice facility for football. And then the baseball has a new coach. That was what I had. So it was just a lot of just crazy stuff going on in the summer that I thought we ought to mention.
So, definitely.
Lots of big news.
Yeah, that's. I mean, volleyball needs a new court, or it needs their own court. Either way. I mean, with the success they've had, I mean, you've got to give it to them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've been ranked. Like I think I was looking at it, like 3 years in a row or something. Just like they haven't been out of the rankings at all in several years.
And they've gone fairly far into the tournament every year too. So I mean, that's exciting. So, so what's the new baseball coach's name?
Is it Mark Rarden? It's hard to say.
Something like that.
Rarden.
I haven't looked it up yet. I honestly, I'm. That's kind of why we take our
Mark. Let me.
It's gonna be like something like Bob.
Mark. It's Mark Rarden. Mark Rarden. A lot of R's.
Rarden.
Yeah. Like rar.
So have you gotten so Matt, have you gotten out of Facebook jail yet?
No. As far as I know, I'm like.
Good.
So I had to create this new Facebook because
well, you
got
getting hacked.
And, they seriously tried to.
Hacked.
Anyway, yeah. Oh yeah, quote unquote. Somebody seriously hacked into my Facebook somehow and posted like this awful, like child porn kind of stuff on my profile.
It really wasn't hard to guess your password was 12345.
Go tops 12344.
Yeah, tops, toppers, whatever. Yeah, I really should work on that. But anyway,
at least add your social security number in there for good measure.
Yeah,
there you go.
So anyway, these people got a hold of my my bank account stuff, and they started trying to charge on our Facebook ad stuff.
Holy
whatever. So yeah, I created a new Facebook profile. So now that I'm adding the friends that Facebook deleted my profile from, because the only way you can appeal is, do you disagree with this decision?
Yes.
And you say yes, and then it's like, all right, thanks. We'll let you know. We'll check out the post that you posted to see if it's horrible or not. It's child pornography. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, I'm still in Facebook jail because I keep adding friends, and I keep forgetting. Like I get on, I'm like, oh, I like that post, and it's like, you're suspended, and it like restarts the timer of however many days or weeks that I'm not allowed to touch Facebook.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Good times.
Honestly, like
I
for
enjoyed
myself,
my 1,500 like business page getting orphaned.
well, that does suck. I'll give you that. But like personally, like I haven't even been on Facebook in forever. I just do TikTok now. That's where I get my stuff, and I'll go on Facebook every now and then.
I finally did get on the talk tick finally.
You did good. Congratulations.
Yeah, I need to find you, Devin.
Yes.
I've been getting some views, bro.
Oh, have you? Oh, so you do videos? See, I don't do videos. I just watch.
Oh, you
I just
don't?
watch videos. I'll sit there
Oh.
for hours, not realizing I'm still watching the same crap.
Yeah, it's addictive.
Anyway.
Man. Just click through stuff.
Oh my god, yes. So I'm making notes
All right.
that Matt has child porn addiction.
Oh Lord, God!
You got to see if the thing
Devin,
for Betterhelp still works.
I am a
Use that
business
code.
professional in the Bowling Green area. Quit spreading rumors that I'm a pervert. Gosh.
You know, the sad thing
Devin,
is,
you're killing me, man. Like,
the sad
I'm
part
talking
is,
about sponsoring your daggum show, and you're saying I'm a porn addict. Like, quit it. Nobody's gonna want to listen to the show if we keep saying I'm a pervert and you bring me on every week. Come on, man.
no, the bad part is somebody's going to be like walking down.
Here,
they're going to be walking. They're gonna. Well, the thing is, I'm waiting for somebody to be like walking into the stadium with their kid, and they see you, and they like pull the kid to the other side or something, and I'm gonna be like, you're gonna be like, they listen to the podcast. That's what's going on.
Goodness,
that's it.
And I cannot find this lady's name.
Well,
how
Devin,
did you spell?
I think
what is you said Paul Sanaford was the women's
Sanderford. Yeah.
Sanderford. Okay. If it's spelled wrong, I'm blaming you. Yeah, I'm trying to do like this whole visual aspect, so I'm trying to keep notes going as I'm doing this. So it's going to be kind of redundant after a while. But anyway.
Okay. I'm sure our listeners can't wait for more redundancy.
Well, I mean, at some point we're going to go off the rails, so might as well be now.
Might as well get it out of the way. Yeah.
Well, you're the one bringing up Facebook. I do appreciate the chance to vent.
You told me to. You told me to, so you can clear your name.
Yeah. Yeah, and thanks. And now anyway. I'm a pervert. Thanks.
So, has the indoor facility for football opened up yet?
No, they haven't even. I don't even think they've started construction or anything.
Yeah, they haven't even broken
It's just
ground.
approved.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, it was just approved. Okay, I was gonna say, obviously I don't live in the Bowling Green area, so I don't go by there. So.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, they approved it years ago, and the medical center backed out, and it never happened. So it's still a long process to actually
wasn't that like our time
happen?
Wasn't that like when
it was like right at the end? Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but it was like right at the end of when I was there, so way after you were gone. Because I was there for 85 years.
Me and you both, so don't worry.
I don't remember exactly.
I was there during. I was there during the Beatles and stuff.
The national championship.
There. Yeah.
Oh, the Beatles! Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What was it?
No, it's because I'm so old.
Yeah.
Hey, he had spunk. Let me tell you what. That Fikes could sure get boys in shape. Anyway. So
I remember Virgil Livers.
do you think it was a good choice for Western to part ways with their former coach in baseball?
Who's going first?
Matt.
Okay.
I'll let you go first.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was overdue. I mean, he was doing the Stansberry without the flash, like kind of hanging around and having an excuse to not get fired. But like it was really bad, like not even making the conference tournament ever or very rarely bad. I mean, it was
Yeah.
awful, and he had several times that he probably should have been fired, and even when he got on campus, he started out with a DUI, whatever. And I don't know how he lasted as long as he did, but I know he was loved by a lot of donors. But yeah, I think I
Yeah.
thought it was time, and it's a really good hire. I like the guy. I like Rardon a lot.
Yeah. He seems like a pretty good guy from everything I've read about him. So there's that.
Yeah, he's definitely winning the press conference, so to speak. Like he really is kind of he's like somebody you want to listen to.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to hear him talk. Like I really like where it's going.
Honestly, like that's half the battle for coaches. You
Mm-hmm.
know, is the media because you've got to keep up that image of this is what we're doing, yada yada yada.
I mean, when's the last time baseball was visible at all? Like you had some of his stuff that was kind of like actual news instead of completely invisible on campus. It was nice
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, and but because and that's what kills me is like you've got UK and U of L who aren't necessarily like baseball powerhouses, but they do really well every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got their own little sections, the students sit in and everything else, and you have not a great turnout, but a fairly decent turnout for baseball in those venues. And Western could too. I mean, you could definitely have, baseball being a contributing sport for Western, and you just got to get the right
Yeah.
people in there.
Well, I mean, when it was, right around when we were both there, Western baseball was pretty good, and it was
Yes.
right after they built the Hot Rods Park, and we were packing out, or not packing out, but it was like pretty full in the
Yes.
Hot Rod Stadium, and people actually went, and it was exciting. And then it just, you know, once Pulowski got there, it just really went downhill, and just they couldn't. There was no point in even having anything outside of the Western Baseball Stadium because nobody was showing up because no one really even knew what was going on. So
Yeah.
hopefully it'll turn around.
Jared, what do you think, bud?
Baseball is not my strong suit, but it was definitely a good decision to move on from Plowski, obviously. I mean, I feel like he definitely underperformed. It made baseball a little more invisible than it used to be. So hopefully Rardon can kind of get back to that and maybe just kind of revamp things, maybe get a little more out there in Bowling Green, try to invite people to more games. So like what Taggart would do, just screaming in the center of campus, telling everybody about it. Yeah, pretty much. At least do something. Try to get something.
Matt, let me tell you, the worst part for me,
We all do blue.
the worst part for me with Taggart wasn't, it wasn't even the fact that he would talk, he would be so loud during practice. And then he would do media interviews and he'd be like,
Guys, we're doing good. Good to see.
and you're like, come on, coach. I know, it's probably like some like anxiety or something or nervousness, but it's like, come on, just speak up. It's just a bunch of media.
It's like Ricky Bobby, like before he got cocky. Like I don't think the car ran pretty good. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Basically.
Man, Taggart, dude. I know we've talked about this before, so I don't want to just go over it every time we ever mention him, but like, we would be so confused during practice. He just like screams stuff out, and he loved high change. What? Sudden change? What? And then Wells is like,
Yes.
"Why aren't we snapping? Because no one understands the head coach, and we're 80 yards the opposite direction." And he's screaming at us for not understanding what he's saying currently, so we're just standing there trying to figure out where to go.
Yes. Oh my gosh, dude. God, those were good times though.
Taggart, especially at the beginning, like you started figuring out what he was saying after a while, but like in the beginning, man, it was like trying to understand Chinese while operating football practice, I guess.
Dude, it was like we got dropped off in Beijing, and they're, it just. So great, so great.
Good times.
Um, yeah, such great times. I actually did get an article from one of our listeners about Taggart and being one of the shortest lived coaches at a school. And of course, I saw this stat, I think on ESPN, and it was talking about how in the span of 365 days, Taggart had 3 jobs. Um, just, and this isn't quite accurate. I think he started the new job in December technically. So at one point, I'll just say like December 5th, he was at South Florida. December 6th, like contract wise, he was with Oregon. And then before the
And
year
then
was
went to
up,
Florida State.
he was at Florida State, which, I mean, grand scheme of things, like if it had worked out for him, he would still be at Florida State. So,
Oh
but
yeah, that
he,
was his dream job. I think he just
yeah,
he had like that time period that he had to tear a program down and then build it back up, and I don't think they gave him that at Florida State. So
No, you
well, I
have
don't
very.
either.
he got impatient and
you-
ran him out.
Yeah.
Well, that's Florida State is they like to think of themselves like a football school. And traditionally, Bobby Bowden, Jimbo, they were, but I think Jimbo he knew what was about to happen, so he's like, I'm out. He's like, they're not going to do anything next year, so I'm getting out of here. And Taggart sliding right into it. He didn't have a chance without a
I
few
agree with
years
that.
of support. Without a few years of support, he didn't have a chance.
Yep. For sure.
So anyway, Jared,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think of the new coach? Have I asked you yet?
For baseball?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I don't really keep up with baseball as much, but I mean, he seems like he's going to be doing a pretty solid job. I mean, I think that he can kind of revamp the culture, try to get people excited about it again, and hopefully build something. So, I mean, he's already gotten some new commits and stuff that I've seen. I have been keeping up with those and stuff, so that's always good.
Yeah.
Like I said, baseball. Congratulations. Hope they do well. And if they start doing
It
well, I
is
guess we'll start
impressive.
talking about it more.
If you look at his resume, though, man, like 12 JUCO College World Series.
Wow.
3 National Coach of the Year honors.
That's
yeah,
impressive.
whatever. 3 national championships. I mean, he 74% winning percentage in postseason play. I mean, and here's the thing, in baseball, you kind of have to be able to get out and find like diamonds in the rough, especially at Western. And who would be better than that than a guy from the middle of Iowa in JUCO? So I think it's really good. I like him a lot, man.
I think you're right. And honestly, like the past 10 years or so, Western's not been a traditional powerhouse in baseball. So, this is good. I mean, if he can come in and be successful at Western, then by all means. Excuse me. So basketball updates.
Yes.
Go into basketball. Jared, do you want to lead us off?
Sure.
on,
So
Debbie Downer.
obviously we all know how this past season ended, losing to Louisiana Tech. Some more off-season news is that Lofton is gone. Thank God, he's on the Grizzlies now. So he's professional. He won't be able to do college anymore, so that helps us in the long run. But so I like a lot of the additions that Stansbury has got. Dante Allen from UK, obviously pretty good. Christian Lander from Indiana, he kind of underperformed there. I mean, he'll probably come off the bench here, but still some Power 5 experience. I think he was like a 4 or 5 star recruit too, out of high school. So, and of course, the most recent Emmanuel Akot, that was amazing being able to pick up someone. He's got a lot of size. He's like 6'8", pretty good 3-point shooter, averaged about 10 points last season at Boise State. Was going to go to Memphis and flipped to WKU literally like a couple days ago. So another good addition, of course. Hamilton is back. Frampton is back. Of course, McKnight, he's going to be back. And Sharp, that was one of the other things that I guess that happened over the this
Sharp and
offseason.
Hamilton, really.
Yeah. Well, especially Sharp. Like, I thought Sharp was as good as gone because we had heard a
Mhm.
lot of things of how a certain SEC school was trying to secure the bag for him and try to give him a bunch of NIL money to enter the transfer portal and come to go to there. So thankfully, he did enter the transfer portal, and I thought he was a goner, but he actually did decide to stay with Western at the end of everything. So being able to hold on to one of the most intriguing center prospects in college basketball is definitely a great thing because I mean 7'5", you can't teach 7'5", and he's an athletic 7'5". He's not like a Taco Fall 7'5" that takes forever to run from one side of the court to the other. Like he's got a lot of athleticism, incredible shot blocker, and everything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he'll look in another season under Stansberry. I think him and McKnight and Hamilton and Frampton, that's a lot of the same guys from last season, but you add good additions like Akot and Lander and Allen potentially off of the bench from what I've heard. And also, I mean, you still have Jordan Rawls coming back from Georgia
Mhm.
State, or yeah, he transferred back to WKU. So I think this is about as deep of his team that Stansberry has had. Of course, it is the end of August, and we know anything can happen between now and the beginning of November. But I mean,
Matt,
I'm actually
collective
hopeful.
sigh.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is that I feel like the past 4 seasons have just been on repeat. Just like Western gets all these good players in the off season, and then have such high expectations, and everyone's bought in. They get a few good Power Five wins in the non-conference, and then um, still get in conference play, do okay, and end up losing in a conference championship game with a tournament run. That's been our life for way too long, and I really hope that that cycle can get broken this season because I think basically everyone is fed up at this point. And so I think Stansberry, unless there's some type of injury or something, which is you can't control, like this has to be like he has. This is the best roster he's had. He has to be able to coach them and use these players and go more than just
Mhm.
7 guys deep and actually trust his bench to do things. So this is definitely going to be a year where I expect a lot more than I have the past couple of seasons, just for the sheer amount of talent that this team has.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about today. I mean, not even just his starting five, but he's got talent in his back five, and that's just,
Dude,
I
yeah.
mean,
He
that's
can go
that,
more than 10 deep if he wanted to.
Yeah.
and but
I mean,
we
Rawls is probably sorry, Devin.
no,
Rawls is
you're good.
probably not even gonna see the court. I would guess. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe he's improved so much or whatever, but like he was a starter when he was here, and now he's probably not going to be in the top like 11 or 12 players on the team. Like,
yeah,
it's
And
it's
amazing.
another thing I forgot to mention too is that Davion McKnight actually got to go to one of Damian Lillard's summer camps. So that's pretty awesome for him to work with one of the best point guards in the NBA and actually learn a little bit from somebody like that. So that's also really sick that our starting point guard has some experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. That's awesome. I'm sorry. I'm actually making notes on the Formula Zero camp.
Well, okay, I'll take a different angle to what Jared was saying while you're doing that, Dev. Um,
Go ahead.
like I feel like I get Jared's negativity, man. I've been all up on that the last few years. Like I totally get that, but I do think you got to give Rick some serious credit. I mean, they've obviously been killing themselves this off season with all this work and all the production of getting all these players in and keeping sharp. And I think Hamilton kind of came back because he didn't have any decent options, but still, I mean, he may go from starter this year to I think he may start anyway, but maybe. But there are other options out there that he may not even be a top five best player on this team from last year this year, even though he's a returning starter and a senior. Um, and just I'm really excited to see. Hopefully, like we've had rosters meltdown from this point going forward with Rick Stansberry, so God only knows. But if we can keep who we've got until the beginning of the year, maybe a few fall off because they finally realize, oh, I can't play on a team with all 4 and 5 stars. Maybe I
Yeah,
won't
but
get PT, but yeah, I think if we can keep some semblance of a roster together, I mean, the
if
sky's the
we can
limit. As
keep,
long as Rick can not alienate players or, play a rotation deeper than 6 or 7, because there's zero reason that we should have a short bench this year. There's no way you can make that argument that it's not a good idea to play your talent. There's so much there.
yeah,
So, and I
there's
like the JUCO guys there too. That's a sneaky catch, I think, um, is that both of those guys can shoot. They're JUCOs. So they should be able to come in with experience, and provide some more depth with some size. So
my question
I'm
is,
close.
I'll ask both of you individually. Um, with the new NIL, how is? I mean, obviously Sharp wasn't getting the money he wanted going on the road. He wanted to stay here at Western, but like, how is this NIL going to affect us in the future? I mean, I feel like it's going to hurt us. Matt, go first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it depends. I think if we start winning and we make it and break through to the tournament and stuff, I think you're going to have more people wanting to jump on and sponsor and you know work with the players and stuff like that. Um, if we made a big run to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, whatever, um, you know, that
Well, a
that would
little
open
easier to
some
get money. I'll
national
go with
eyes.
that.
Yeah, but
I said it.
if
Yeah,
we don't break through, I think of course it's terrible for mid major programs or people that like we just don't have the donors that like a Texas or USC or
UK,
whoever is gonna UK whatever is gonna be able to just
UCLA.
throw all
Yeah,
kinds of money at kids. Alabama football, whatever.
yeah.
There's no way our guys are making $1 million a year. They might be getting some of the best ones might be making a decent, like above minimum wage income, but for a college
Seriously,
kid, but they probably are not raking in tens of thousands of dollars a month in sponsorship deals. So, of course, I think
Jared, what do you
it's
think,
not
bud?
a great thing.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, I agree with most of that, but
It's okay.
also I don't think is. I mean, it's especially with Stansberry, I don't think he's having any problems getting people here, and I mean that's a good thing. But it might become an issue for someone that wants to stay and they know that they could be getting money. Like if they're more money driven, then they might want to go elsewhere. But I mean, it hasn't been too much of an issue, I think, yet that we might lose people for NIL. I mean, Sharp was the closest that we've come to that. And I know that there's most of the team is sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. Like that's one of the NIL deals that pretty much all of them have. I know that one of the lawyers in Bowling Green too is helps with some of them. I don't know about some of the other sponsors. I know that McKnight, he was selling some of his own merchandise and like shirts and stuff. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
direct way that you could actually help support
Simply
him.
mulch.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I mean, just anything. I mean, any type of side hustle. I mean, I feel bad for Jared Savage. He could have had his lawn mowing thing the whole time. He could have been in college and just advertised that and everything. But I mean, this is such a new thing. And even for like musicians, I don't think we really have any on our team. But like, if someone wanted to go play a show and get money for it in
Yeah.
town, they could
But
do
who's that
that.
one
And
baseball
used to.
player? Sorry, there's a baseball player that's a country star ish now.
Yeah, and you couldn't
Forget who it
really do
was.
both
What's his name?
beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's one of
Yeah.
the things that's cool is that it does open a lot of new avenues of revenue for the players to just help them out and make them feel appreciated by the community. That's why I was really intentional trying to plug McKnight's stuff, hoping people would actually get something because, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
imagine being your star point guard and you're loved by everyone in this community, and then you're like, hey, you should buy a shirt with my name on it, and nobody wants to buy it. How would that make you feel? So, I mean, it's kind of up to
Yeah.
us too to still try to send that love back to them, make sure we appreciate the players we got. So, I mean, a little bit of the ball's in our court too. So, I don't know. I mean, I still think
Yeah.
Stansberry won't have an issue getting people here. It's just maybe keeping them more than a season or two. But I mean, college basketball is a revolving door at this point, anyway. So I don't really think it matters.
Yeah, I agree
good
with
points, Jared.
that last statement. I definitely agree with that last statement because, you know, I always thought it was ridiculous. There was I saw a story where there was a football player. He was a punter for UK who did YouTube videos and tutorials on, for high school kids, middle school, whatever, on punting, just so they can, they can learn some tips and stuff from a, collegiate athlete. And the NCAA came down on him and said, "You got to take it down because you can make money from that, and that's not fair." And I'm like, it's a YouTube channel, I mean, yeah, he can make money off of it, but at the same point, like, you think you would want to support him and say, "Yeah, this is great, this is helping the sport," but no, you've got to take it down because you're making money. And I just never agreed with that. Um, honestly, like, if I'm a college athlete right now, I'm going for Trent betting. I'm just saying.
The greatest NIL deal I've seen so far is, I think he's just a random player at Nebraska. It's like DeColdest. That's his name. And he signed with some local AC company and was talking about how
Yes.
like they're DeColdest. That's one of the great that is why NIL exists. That is why we need this. It's just for that.
Wow.
It was
See,
incredible.
we also
Imagine
honestly
Taco
like
Fall.
Yeah. He would have gotten so much money. So
See,
much money.
Me
you're
like
leaving off the best
tacos.
one. You're missing the best one, Forrest Lamp, right there. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done that when he was in college, sure. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
is sponsored by
When he
Lamps
went
Plus.
to the pros, he was sponsored by Lamps Plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamps Plus. Yeah, just so everybody knows he was Lamps
Hey,
Plus.
Forrest.
Um,
Every time I saw him, I'd be like, "Hey, Forrest."
oh yeah, I'm sure he just loved that, didn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I bet he
thrilled to
got
see
it a
me.
lot though. But
Probably.
anyway, I mean, that's some awesome news for basketball. The thing I'm probably not really concerned about right now is what I've always concerned about with Stansbury is the bench. Like, I don't think he knows the bench exists.
Yeah, he doesn't
And
trust them historically.
he doesn't. He never goes to the bench. If he does, it's a minute or two, and then your starter's right back in. Which some coaches can do that, and that's fine. But you don't get when you've got this much talent. You've got to spread it around. And
find guys we can trust. Can't trust anybody.
And that's my thing.
Trust over time.
I just don't think he's got the. I don't think he either trusts them or he's one of these that he's like, I'm gonna put him out there, and these five are gonna do it unless somebody breaks their neck, and then we're gonna send somebody else back.
And then exactly. And then we crash and burn as soon as we get into any type of tournament because all of our starters have been playing 40 minutes a game.
Exactly.
For 20,000
Go back and look at. Go back and look.
Every tournament
UAB
for the past 5 years.
Yeah, right. UAB played a 3 overtime game against Middle in the semis, and then came back and beat La Tech in an offensive game. Why is that? Because they had freaking depth, and Western
legs
is dead at the end of the year, and they fizzle out because you refuse to play guys both in the tournament and leading up to the tournament because you're down to 6 people that you quote unquote trust, but they're dead. They can't do anything at that point.
Well, I mean,
frustrating.
It would be. I mean, just like we're in Kentucky, so it'd be like a Kentucky Derby horse running, and this horse was run 3 races Friday, Saturday, and then you get up to Sunday, and you're like, "Come on, buddy!" And it's like, "Why is he dragging?" Well, I can tell you why. He's already run 2 races ahead of this, so his legs are gone. There's only so much you can do as far as getting them back,
shut down,
getting their legs back underneath them.
PETA would be pissed.
PETA's always pissed. Spoiler alert.
You're right.
There's people in this world that I don't think there is anything that would make them happy, and that's one group I think doesn't make them happy. So, just side note on my random angry whatever. But anyway, so football. Let's go into football because the basketball talk's going to depress me. So Austin Reed looking like our starter so far. Matt, you're the stat guy. What do we have to look forward to with Austin Reed?
Well, if you look at his his past. He has, he has. Everybody talked about Jared Dagey or whatever his name is.
Yeah, it's
What's
Diggy.
his name? Yeah, I know. It's definitely not Doge, bud. Every time he said it, I'm like, dude, come on, man. But yeah, Daggy had all these fancy stats. He's bringing back the most yards in NCAA and stuff. Austin Reed came into Division II, which I have a couple articles out on him. Just kind of trying to break it down because we didn't really talk about him before. Basically, it was announced that Daggy was transferring because it was kind of assumed that maybe Daggy would win the job. But man, I really hadn't looked at him a ton until Daggy transferred. Then I start digging in, and it's like, man, this guy is something. We actually had a guy, Matt Wickwicki from D2football.com at D2football on Twitter and all that. And this guy reached out and he says, "Hey, I know a lot about this guy. You want to talk sometime?" I'm like, "Sure." And he was talking about how he noticed Austin Reed at the D2 National Championship in 2019. And basically, University of West Florida, which is a Division II school, had run through basically like a who's who of Division II football. And, they'd beaten Valdosta State and they beat, I don't know, some other weird French name or something. Whatever. They and so they're playing Minnesota State Mankato, which weirdly enough, my former boss at College Suites went to Minnesota State Mankato. But anyway, they were playing them, and he's watching them warm up, and he's talking to, man, this guy's got something special. He's throwing like 30-yard outs and hitting the guys in the eyes and throwing bombs like they're fades, no big deal. And so the guy threw for a ton of yards. He only lost 5 games in college, in his college career. I think it was like 22-5 or something.
Wow.
And yeah, and every stop he's ever been at since high school began, as long as he played, they had no more than 2 losses in a single year. So the guy's really a winner. And I really like everything that I've heard about him. And supposedly he's got a really great arm too. So I mean, I really like the guy. The more that I kind of read into it, and like the way that people talk about him, I think that's more important than like looking at his stats or whatever, because they're nice. But everybody just talks about his leadership, and like whenever he talks in an interview, he's talking about like trying to get guys to come along with him, and we've got to get this going and whatever. And it's like when I think about it, when we were on the hill, Devin, did we have too many guys that were really like that in the locker room when Elson, Taggart, whatever were there? I don't think so. You didn't have
I don't
like
either.
15 or 20 leaders on the team that you're just blown away by their vocal ability to lead guys. I think there maybe were 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe got into people,
and
but it wasn't a culture thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. The most
Jared.
insane thing that I already love a lot is when he was announced the starting quarterback, basically every single player on the team commented on his Instagram post, just like pouring out support and saying that they're behind him. He basically already has the locker room, and that's a really, really, really good sign that all of these guys are already behind him 100%. And that makes it a lot easier for him to be a leader and be a leader of the team and just carry them the direction they need to go. So I thought that was really awesome to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
that helps. That helps a lot. Sorry,
I think
go ahead.
that's all right, man. The contrast between how Daggy handled stuff and how Reed did. I mean, as soon as Daggy gets a whiff that he's basically not the starter, he kind of acts a little bit like a baby and goes to Troy and gets his revenge game on October 1st and all that stuff. And I mean, versus Reed, who seemingly, I mean, maybe if Reed had lost the job too, I don't know, maybe he would have a meltdown and run off somewhere. But I mean,
see, I didn't think Deggy had.
from the guy.
I didn't think Doji, whatever. I didn't think he had actually like lost the job at that point. I thought he just kind of folded and was like, "I'm done." The way I understood it, but I might be wrong.
Well, I talked to a couple people that pretty much know what's going on, and several people kind of said, Reed. What's interesting is Reed came in right before spring practice started, and Daggy was already there. He committed middle of January, and so Reed came in pretty late. And so in the spring they looked about even, but I wasn't thinking, this guy didn't have any time to do anything. And then when they got in fall camp, I think he was
Turned
clearly the
on.
better one. Yeah, I mean, he just had, like, when we saw him in the spring game, he had barely been introduced to the offense, and then he works all summer and gets into fall camp, and he's clearly the better quarterback,
Option.
I think,
Yeah.
from what I
Yeah.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely earned it. That's for sure.
I do look forward to seeing him play, honestly, just because of everything I'm hearing. I'd like to see, how he's going to fare with Western's offense and under Helton's tutelage and under his offensive scheme. Jared, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely really excited to see him as well. And I think he seems like such a natural leader too, from what I've seen. And I think he's about as close to his Bailey Zappi as we could. Obviously, he's not going to break NCAA records this season, so there's no reason to try to
Maybe
give
next year.
that expectation for him. I wish. I mean, I didn't think that anyone would break Dowdy's record, but Zappi came along and shattered them. So I mean, you never know. But I mean, the biggest thing too is wide receivers. Of course, losing Tinsley sucks, and of course Stearns graduated. So I mean, we still have some losses at the wide receiver depth. But I'm interested to see who will step up and do that. I mean, we have Josh Simon coming back from injury, tight end. Of course, Belgian did pretty good, so he'll still be around. So having two really solid tight ends is going to be awesome. The offensive line is still a big question for me because losing Cole Spencer to Texas Tech and also Hamby, the coordinator for the offensive line and everything.
Who's the guy
and
that
then,
somebody went to Ole Miss too, right?
Yeah, it was it Brooks?
What's his
Mason
name?
Brooks?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
sounds
think it
right.
was Mason
so.
Brooks that went to Ole Miss, but we still have
Yeah.
some depth on the offensive line too. I think there's still a couple starters from last season. I've heard a lot of good things about Rusty Stats and Gunnar Brighton and all of them. So I still think that the offensive line can be pretty solid. That'll be what makes or breaks whoever our quarterback is, which it looks like it's going to be Reed. But I mean, I feel like he's as close to Zappi as far as like fitting the offense. Except I think he can run it out a little more too. Am I right to say that, Matt? He can use his legs.
Yeah, and Zappi. I mean, Zappi was athletic enough. He just didn't run.
Yeah.
I don't
Zappi
know if
was-
they're going to use.
I always think of
Go ahead,
Zappi like
Dave,
a
what were you
Tom
gonna say?
Brady. No, you're good. I just
Why?
said
Because he's
I
on
always
the
think of-
Patriots right now.
because of his play style. He's not the worst thing and I'm not a Patriots
moves
fan,
more
but
than
just
Brady.
watching. But the worst thing for me with Brady is when Brady tries to take off. Because he runs like a 8-second 40,
Me too.
And when he takes off, you're like, dude, you're slow. Just don't even run. But when he takes off,
Honestly,
it's usually a
though-
good thing. But Zap's,
Honestly, though, yeah.
go ahead.
I
Zap's
agree with that.
Zap's a pocket player, so that's what I'm getting at. But go ahead.
He is, but he was more creative, way more like fluid, and he had a few plays where he was basically just directing traffic, like the alpha male, like, "Hey, dude, go here, you'll be open," and he
Yeah.
like tells him to move, and he does it and throws it across his body, and he completes it. When Brandon Dowdy never and Mike White never ever would have done that stuff.
No.
And he was the first quarterback. Well, Piggy T, of course, had positive rushing yards, but the first real legit passer to have positive rushing yards in a while. And just something to be said, even though, I mean, he wasn't a runner, but he could run when he needed to. I think Reed will run a little bit more to answer your question, Jared, but I don't know. Like in the spring game, they ran the QBs a lot, but that could have just been them,
testing the waters.
running random offense. Yeah, just kind of putting something on film and, doing a kind of vanilla, let's see what these guys do. I don't know, but he ran a lot in the spring. So, for what it's worth.
We'll see. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. So, have a little prediction tonight. What are we thinking for Western versus Austin P? Jared, you go first.
Okay. So I don't know if I've mentioned, but I'm actually working over in Springfield, Tennessee now. I transferred stores from Rivergate, so I'm actually I know a few people that go to Austin P now, but of course they don't watch football,
Look at you,
so
big dog.
they haven't really helped me much. But I mean, I have learned more about Austin P than I ever thought I have. I don't even know if I've been to Clarksville before, but I mean, I guess. I mean, they're FCS level, but at the same time, yeah, maybe. Well, it's Clarksville. I don't really care that much. It is the 5th largest city.
I went to Clarksville for a chess tournament.
Man, that sounds
really in 5th grade.
Invigorating.
I was like, did you really play chess, or did you just confuse it and think it was checkers?
No, I mean, there's a difference. Was like, dude, I was a legit chess player. For real.
Oh my gosh, that is probably the most shocking thing.
I traveled to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the National Chess Championship, and Screech was there.
And apparently, Clarksville.
Saved by the Bell. Yeah, he was.
So the porn star Screech was there, is what I'm hearing.
Oh boy! Of course, you're gonna make that connection. Thanks, man.
I'm scared.
He was there a bunch of little kids. So anyway.
I didn't make that connection, but anyway.
Yeah, Jared, your prediction. God, Devin.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about Austin P. Obviously, I mean they're more local. They're more local school than some of the FCS teams that we've played in recent years. Of course, we played Chattanooga, and we still should have lost that game. It's like we should have lost against Chattanooga. We got an absolute egregious call in our favor to win that game. I'm not complaining, but we should have lost that game. I don't know what it is about us and FCS teams that we struggle immensely. Like that. Central Arkansas, of course, Maine, almost losing to Chattanooga. I feel like it's always something. But with Austin P, I don't feel that kind of threat. Just because, I mean, it's kind of more local. It's like OVC. It's, I mean, I don't really ever hear their football team mentioned with local national news or anything ever. So, I mean, I feel like if they were pretty solid, we would hear at least a little bit more about them. I mean, they talk about MTSU and Murfreesboro for whatever reason all the time, and we know how they are. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not as concerned, but I still think obviously. So with my prediction, as much I still think we'll air it out. Obviously, I think Reed will look pretty solid. I'm not super concerned about scoring points. My biggest question mark is the defense. Losing Malone and a couple other guys. And I really want to see who steps up. I heard the defensive line is kind of sus. But I still think that they'll score a little bit on us. But, of course, just with our offense, we'll be able to take control of it. My final score prediction is us 38, Austin P 17. I think that's fair for a first game with a brand new quarterback from Division II. A lot of new coaches, a lot of new players thrown into the roster, 38-17.
Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, my final score is very similar. I think Jared hit some good points. Losing some D linemen, we lost more than just Malone. There was also, what's his name? Michael Pitts, I think, was the guy that was Cincinnati transfer. He had 3 sacks, I think. And obviously Malone, I don't think people appreciate how much that guy did. He seriously, if you watched him, number one, he was like Iggy in terms of like running sideline to sideline, chasing people down. So it was almost like he was an outside linebacker and defensive end that pass rushed. And he stopped the run up the middle. He could even do a little kind of D-tackle stuff. I mean, he's amazing. And he
was everywhere.
He really was. And he got, as a freaking defensive end, he almost had 100 tackles last year. And he did that multiple years. It's unbelievable what he did as a defensive end. Because, like, I was comparing in some of my articles and stuff him to Q Smith. Like, Q Smith was a pure pass rusher. I think in his most prolific year, he got 40-something tackles. Malone had 3 seasons that were way more than that. He did so much more than Q did and still was the sack guy. So it's a huge loss. I'm worried about the D-line. I've heard that might be the weakest area of the team right now, maybe. I'm concerned about the secondary because Kincaid is another producer of 100 tackles a year. And we lost Beanie Bishop too. I think it was Beanie Bishop.
And losing Devin Key.
Yeah, Devin Key was a couple years ago. Yeah, so you're kind of like he's replacing some huge pieces recently. I'm also honestly, I know this might seem weird, but I am concerned about punter.
I think
Haggerty,
Ellard will be really good.
I think he'll be pretty good, but from the spring game, I hope that's not really who he is because he was like kind of shanking and it wasn't that long. I mean, Haggerty, number one, he wasn't used that much because we had such a good offense, but it would make a huge difference. Let's say that Ellard kicks it for 40, even 42 yards a punt. Man, that's losing 7 yards off of what we had last year. So I'm
Well, I mean,
concerned about
Haggerty
it.
was exceptional. He was one of the top punters this past week in the CFL. I saw where he
Oh
was
yeah,
sharing about that. I mean, he's an exceptional talent. I still think
he's
he ought to make his way to the NFL at some point because he's
yeah
talented
he's
enough.
unbelievable. So it really was like a generational like no one ever comes to Western kicking like that. Um, he was amazing. So we'll see about Ellard. I'm concerned about that. I do think running back is going to be. Um, I think it'll be better. It definitely would be tough to be worse than they were last year.
Wait,
I
we
hope they
run the
use them
football?
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe with Reed, hopefully they'll run him and run them a little bit more.
Maybe we should have
Um,
some zone read. Let's go. Let's
oh
go.
man. Well, let's just shut down the show after that, man. But no,
God, I'm gonna make that pun so much this season. I hate
Oh
it
my gosh!
already.
yeah.
But you want to
Anyway,
do zone read, but I think we should do the read option.
Mm.
yeah.
Damn it!
Yes, indeed.
Nothing. Okay. Okay.
Indeed.
Go
So
back to your concerns,
we
Matt.
already heard. That's all right, man. I do like I do like the tight ends because Simon's back and Belgian, even though he's not like mega talented and catching the ball, he found a way to produce last year. So I think they could be really strong. And I think there's another guy that they add River Helms or something like that
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about. So I think they could actually be one of the strongest units on the team. And I think that would, if we had tight ends last year, imagine how good that offense would have been. We had zero tight
Yeah.
ends and zero running backs. So I think those two positions, if they could just be decent, would make a huge help to Reed and kind of making up for the loss of Zappy. I think I like the offensive line from what I've heard. So anyway, this is just a couple thoughts on kind of what I've been hearing and stuff. But I think overall this year we're going to be. Uh, I think we'll be pretty good. Um, I don't know if we'll be better than we were last year or anything like that. But hearing everything I've heard about Reed, I like us better than I did.
Okay.
Thinking about us with Daggy versus Reed, so I think whatever you were thinking before, add a win or two would be my suggestion. If you're trying to predict what's going to happen. But anyway, with Austin P, I don't see any issue. They lost a bunch of people too. They lost like 4 of their top 5 tacklers. So just replacing all that and playing a team, hopefully a Western team that should be pretty decent, I don't see it being a problem. But again, you don't want to underestimate an FCS team because obviously we have before to the tune of like 5 or 6 times since 2009. So be careful. But I've got
Yes.
Western at 40. I think I said 43-17 was my prediction. But
Cool.
we'll see, man. I'm excited.
I am
Man.
too, honestly. I do share your concerns with the players we've lost. But this is going to be a tune-up game. I feel like, the guys have been smacking their heads against each other, all camp, all spring. Now it's time to go out and actually hit somebody else, and actually, prep for a game. Get ready, see how everything's going, and I think Western's going to be okay. Um, is it going to be an awesome performance? No. Is it going to be something? Is there going to be hiccups? Yes. Things will not go our way, and we're just going to have to overcome. But I'm kind of with you all. I'm going to say 42-20 tops. I think Western's going to do
Right.
pretty good this week. I don't think there's any issues.
Amen, brother.
So let's do some quick talk about some pro tops. Jared, do you want to talk about it real quick?
Yeah. So, I guess some of the biggest updates is just like our newest addition. So D'Angelo Malone's on the Falcons. Jared Stearns is with Tampa Bay, which he's been balling out for them too, which is really good. Even had a pretty good play against my Dolphins in their first preseason game. So that's been pretty awesome to see. Even though he was technically undrafted, that would be awesome if he could end up actually being on the 53-man roster. Of course, Bailey Zappi is probably the biggest one, obviously, with the Patriots. He's looking pretty solid, honestly. I mean, his first game, he had over 200 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Second game, he looked pretty good, too. He did have like a pick six, but I mean, it happens.
Hey,
Looking
bless
at
his heart.
Zappy, I think that he definitely for sure will be on the roster. After talking with Jake with the towel rack, like he's the big Patriots nerd. I hate the Patriots. That's all I know about them. It was funny. Like I kept seeing where Bailey Zappi would share something on an Instagram post and like in his stories, and it says that it was unavailable. I'm like, huh, that's so weird. And then I got on the towel rack, and it was because it was from the Patriots. Like I blocked the Patriots Instagram on my normal accounts. I mean, as a Dolphins fan for 20 years, it's just kind of your natural instinct. But Zappy's been looking really good for them. I think that he obviously it's Mac Jones's job to lose at this point, but Bill Belichick obviously really likes Zappy, or else he wouldn't have taken him at all. And I think that he really wants to give him some playing time, at least a lot in the preseason. He has gotten most of the reps. But I mean, Hoyer is still technically the two guy. Brian Hoyer, he's been in the league forever. He's like a seasoned veteran. So I mean, he's been learning under him a little bit. I don't really see him playing much this season. Maybe Malone could see the field a little bit. Stearns, I don't know. I mean, Tampa Bay's pretty loaded with wide receivers. They had to just to keep Tom Brady's 45-year-old self capable of playing at an NFL level. So,
Is that a little
but
bit of Patriots bitterness kind of stuff coming
yes,
out there?
a little
100%.
bit. But
100%.
I will say, I know Iggy. He's
The
not
TB12
on.
diet.
Yeah, Iggy did lose his spot, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll end up on like the other Ross practice squad or just yeah, he'll either end up on that probably or just on another team. Hopefully, get picked up by somebody. But I mean, and just in general, plus we have all the guys from last season. I mean, George Fant, he should be healthy, good to go. I hope he can do well. Mike White, he's got some snaps in preseason a lot because
Zach Wilson's injured,
yeah,
right?
yeah, he got
Out
hurt
for the season.
Well, not for the season, just for the first few weeks, I think. But Flacco is still on the roster. I think they still have somebody else too, and he hadn't exactly looked super good. I think he used all of his mojo in that game against the Bengals last season and had 400 something yards, which is still incredible. I will forever remember that. I remember being at Roosters with one of my friends, just eating lunch after church one day, and we saw where the game was going on, and then we saw Mike was in there, and it's like, oh heck yeah, let's go. And then he just started gunning it out and actually ended up winning that game for them, but he didn't look good outside of that. So I don't know what'll happen with that situation, but I hope he can still get some playing time somewhere. But overall, I really love the new pro tops that we have in. I just hated Zappies on the Patriots, obviously, a lot. But as much as I hate it, I mean, Belichick is probably the best person he could learn under in the NFL. Like the fact that he is lucky enough to be a quarterback and to go learn from someone who literally made Tom Brady what he is for the most part is something that he'll have the rest of his life, regardless of how his career turns out. And I hope it's a good NFL career. He definitely is. I mean, it's his rookie season, first time ever doing it. I think he could maybe get some playing time somewhere one day. I really hope he does. Just hopefully not.
Who has the better career, Bailey Zappi or Tua Tagovailoa?
God, see,
Bailey Zappi.
probably. Because the thing is that every time I have any type of expectations for the Dolphins, it's worse than WKU basketball. Like, it's actually worse. Like the only jerseys I have a freaking Dante Culpepper jersey from when he was on the Dolphins, and he played 6 games before getting hurt and then never signed with them again. I also have a Ricky Williams jersey, and he ended up getting suspended from the NFL because of weed. And
He's still smoking.
like,
what I'm
if
thinking,
you want me to curse a player, I just tell me to buy their jersey and they're done. Their career's done. I should have bought a Tom Brady jersey years ago.
you should have.
But yeah, but I mean, I really hope Tua can get it done this year. They have Tyreek Hill, they have Jalen Waddle, they have all these amazing wide receivers, two of the fastest wide receivers in the entire NFL. All he has to do is all he has to do is throw it in the middle of the field for 50 yards in hopes that one of them catches it somewhere down there. So if he can figure that out, I think that the Dolphins could probably go 8-9 and miss the playoffs again, like they normally do.
So
Sounds
speaking
amazing.
of pro tops, I watched something the other day. I want to kind of go off the rails for a couple minutes here. I watched something the other day called Untold Stories or something like that on Netflix, and it was with Mateo Teo. Is that right?
Mantateo.
Mantateo, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a really interesting story. To
Oh,
hear
his
his side
catfish
of the
girlfriend?
story, yes. To hear of the catfish story that happened to him and all that. I mean, of course, even looking back on it, he's like, nobody, he's like, of course, people know what catfishing is now, but we had no idea what it was back then. And it's like, he does have a point, so to speak. I mean, the guy that did it who catfished him, like, you need to watch it. But to me, it's like you're just an attention whore. You just want attention, and so that's why you did this, and that's why you're doing this interview now. And because he talks on camera, it talks on camera, and it's just a very interesting story, and just not something that I was not expecting. How about that? Very interesting, and I definitely think it's worth checking out if you and it really affected his life. I think he was projected first round. He ended up going second round, and it's just one of those things that you. I don't know if the catfisher thought it was going to affect him as much as it did, but it did. I mean, it really messed up his future, his career, and I mean, he still did go pro, but I don't think he lasted very long.
Is he already out of the league? I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
Wow. He's not on a team. I'll say that. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
That's wild. I remember when all that was happening. That was interesting.
Were you like middle school? What?
God, I don't remember. What year was it?
2000,
that long ago.
Was it
2008, 2009? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah, same. Still makes me feel old as all get
when
up.
Devin probably graduated college.
No, that was just within the past few years.
It's funny. 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. They did I think the fake girlfriend's name was like Lene Kakua or something like that.
Yes, it was.
And,
good call.
They would do this. They would do the Lene Kakua high school game of the week. So they would make up one set of high school's names, and they'd have this guy from New York guess which school was fake. And so he would always get it wrong. It'd be like Fern Creek and Baptist School of Knoxville or something or whatever, and he'd have to guess which matchup was fake or whatever. It's pretty funny.
So that's fun. That is really funny. That's really
might
funny.
As well stomp on the guy's grave, so to speak.
They did actually. They actually did do a. They showed Sam on the Tower Rack. He was actually talking about a Northern Kentucky high school did a Mantateo girlfriend night, and they gave away bobbleheads, and it's an empty box.
Oh God!
Oh. They showed it on the episode. I was like, that is hilarious.
God.
Yes.
That's horrible.
Yes. And I mean, can you imagine being him, though? I mean, it's his senior season. The poor guy dedicated the season to this person. And
that's your first mistake.
Yeah. And he dedicated it to her and his grandma. And you're just like, what the heck? Poor guy.
Was his grandma real?
Obviously, his grandma was real. But But like, how big of a hey? How big of a how awful of a person are you if you're a catfish? Is to end the relationship saying you died on the same day this guy's girlfriend or his grandma died.
Oh God, yeah. See, I don't know
like
all the
how
background of that
big of
story. I
a
don't remember all that. Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Okay, so real quick, we were going to talk quarterbacks at the end, but we kind of already did. So just real quick, game day info. Obviously, we're playing Austin P Saturday. The game time is 12 noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central time. It is going to be on CBS Sports Network. The game's going to be in Bowling Green, so if you're in the area, go to the game, enjoy it, and it's going to be nice.
Hey, check out the Big Red Bundle they've got. It's like I think it's $600, and you get 4 tickets for football, basketball, and women's basketball. Super awesome deals. One of the deals I've had in a long time. Check it out.
They should have called it the recession special, but
yeah.
No, hey, that's actually a really good idea. But
it's a heck of a deal, man.
Yeah,
that's 3 season tickets
really
for
good
4
deal.
people for like $600.
Yeah, and if Todd would sponsor the podcast, I'd be glad to put a spot in for him. But anyway, yeah, $600. Hey, you can go to the game. You can go 4 tickets. And if you want, you could probably scalp the other ticket if you only got 3 or 2, and you'd be set for the rest of the year. But anyway, as always, guys, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your support. I've gone a few minutes over what I actually aim for every year, but with so much stuff to talk about tonight, I knew we were going to go over. But as always, guys, catch us here next week. And as always, go Tops.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Yeah, man.